What's going on? This is Dams It All, the show about the USACE mission and why it's important. We just had back-to-back hurricanes, so we're going to jump right into talking about our USACE Emergency Operations mission. We are actively working with our federal, state, and local partners to support those affected by Hurricanes Helene and Milton. It's our duty at USACE to always be ready to provide immediate assistance, including emergency power, debris removal, infrastructure and public work assessments, and temporary roofing to those affected by disaster. First and foremost, preserving the health and safety of those affected by these hurricanes is our main priority. It's so painful to see how these terrible natural disasters have changed so many people's lives forever, and I'm just proud to be part of an organization that's involved in the recovery efforts. My wife and I lived in North Carolina for 4 years, and we think about it fondly. We loved it there. We loved the people there. And we just hope that if you're in areas affected by the hurricanes, that you can just pick up the pieces and put your life back together as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, I've seen disaster firsthand. I was one of the first people from USACE on the ground after a wildfire ripped through Napa County in Northern California and even destroyed an entire neighborhood in Santa Rosa. It was truly devastating. While I was out there, I had this conversation with this woman that I'll never forget. We were talking about how USACE can help her recover from losing absolutely everything. Everything she had was destroyed. And we had to end our conversation because she said that she had to go to the store before they closed to buy socks. Like, she didn't even have socks anymore. Like, she had lost everything. And it's just always stuck with me. All right, let's talk about what's going on the ground right now in Florida. We've received multiple mission assignments from FEMA, and this is how we get the requests from the federal government saying, hey, USACE, we have a job like debris removal that we need your help with. And once they ask us if we can help, that's when we get to work. We had 80 people pre-positioned in Florida, including experts in temporary roofing, debris removal, and emergency power. We have folks working in the FEMA Regional Response Coordination Center, and we've activated our emergency operations centers in all the states affected, as well as back at our headquarters in DC. We've also replenished the supplies at our Jacksonville district so they can provide the state and tribal nations with sandbags and water pumps to help them recover from the flooding. One of the other ways that we prepare for natural disaster is that we have contracts that are in place before the disaster happens, so we can be ready to get to work right away. And we had 170 contractors standing by in Florida before Milton made landfall. And now switching over to the recovery efforts for Hurricane Helene, we've received 21 FEMA mission assignments, including debris removal, emergency power, and infrastructure assessment. And now we have over 300 people involved in the recovery efforts in North and South Carolina, Tennessee, and Georgia. And here's an update from the commander of our Wilmington, North Carolina district on the help that we're providing in the Tar Heel State.
Hey, good afternoon. It's Colonel Brad Morgan here. I'm with the Wilmington District U.S. Army Corps of Engineers coming to you from Swannanoa here in western North Carolina. So just want to give you an update in terms of what we're doing, what we've been tasked to do. So obviously a lot of our missions are being provided to us from FEMA. So the mission assignments we've received thus far from FEMA include temporary emergency power. So we've had our power teams here on the ground going on about 2 weeks now. And through the course of those 2 weeks, we've installed 17 temporary emergency generators that are providing temporary emergency powers to certain locations that need that. Additional missions that we've received is the debris mission. So we're currently working with the state and the counties here to help understand what the requirement will be for us to be able to support them as those communities continue to look at how can we recover to restore a sense of normalcy back following this storm. An additional mission that we have a temporary water team that's embedded here within Buncombe County and the city of Asheville, working closely with the city manager and county officials to help understand where we could potentially put in some temporary water supply units using reverse osmosis water purification units. So we're working closely to try to identify those sites where we can draw that water, where we can purify it, and how we can help assist in providing additional water distribution points for the community. And additionally, our infrastructure teams have been out. We've been extremely focused on the water, wastewater mission, doing preliminary assessments with our partners from the EPA, and also looking to do some more detailed assessments of these facilities to help us understand what would be required to help effect some of those repairs. I'm going to be in charge of the recovery effort here within the state long term. So I'm not going anywhere. I will continue to be here to support this mission set with my team and the larger team that I have working with me here from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
Here at USACE Portland, we also have a part to play in the recovery efforts. Yeah, even all the way out here in Oregon. The USACE Blue Roof program provides temporary roof coverings for those affected by disasters. And we need a call center outside of the disaster areas to help folks coordinate getting a blue roof. So we stood one up in the Pacific Northwest, far from the hurricanes in the southeast. We used to set these call centers up in the states where they were actually affected by disasters. But then we realized the hotel space, the telecommunications network, like all the resources there could be better used by the folks who are actually going through the natural disaster. So we just set up shop on the other side of the country. About 30 employees will staff the call center in Portland, and they receive a ton of calls. Hurricane Ian back in 2022, and they got 80,000 calls during the 40 days that they were stood up. And the call center is up and running right now, so we're ready to do our part to help those affected by these terrible natural disasters. Now, USACE brings a unique capability to emergency response missions. There's just some things that we can do as an organization that others can't. But we're just part of a bigger team from the Army and the DoD that's supporting our federal, state, and local partners during this historic hurricane response. I'll add some links down in the description to our overall federal response websites for these hurricanes. And I'll also put in our Blue Roof website in there if you know anybody who's been affected by this and they could use some kind of assistance with some temporary roofing. Check that out. Give us a call here in our Portland call center and we'll do what we can to help. And if you have any questions about our hurricane response or our overall emergency operations mission, drop them in the comments. I will find you answers. That's going to do it for this edition of Dams It All. Thanks for joining me for USACE Portland. I'm Luke Burns. Boy!